In the wake of the Rodney King beating, the Los Angeles Police Department was in crisis. It was accused of racial insensitivity and ill discipline and violence, and the assumption was that those problems had spread broadly throughout the rank and file. In the language of statisticians, it was thought that LAPD's troubles had a normal distribution, that if you graphed them, the result would look like a bell curve, with a small number of officers at one end of the curve, a small number at the other end, and the bulk of the problem situated in the middle. The bell curve assumption has become so much a part of our mental architecture that we use it to organize experience automatically. But when the LAPD was investigated by a special commission headed by Warren Christopher, a very different picture emerged. Between 1986 and 1990, allegations of excessive force or improper tactics were made against 1,800 of the 8,500 officers in the LAPD. The broad middle had scarcely been accused of anything. Furthermore, more than 1,400 officers had only one or two allegations made against them, and bear in mind that these were not proven charges, that they happened in a 4-year period, and that the allegations of excessive force are an inevitable feature of urban police work. The NYPD, for example, receives about 3,000 such complaints a year. 183 officers, however, had 4 or more complaints against them. 44 officers had 6 or more complaints, 16 had 8 or more, and 1 had 16 complaints. If you were to graph the troubles of the LAPD, it wouldn't look like a bell curve. It would look more like a hockey stick. It would follow what statisticians call a power law distribution, where all the activity is not in the middle, but at one extreme. The Christopher Commission's report repeatedly comes back to what it describes as the extreme concentration of problematic officers. One officer had been the subject of 13 allegations of excessive use of force, 5 other complaints, 28 use of force reports, that is, documented internal accounts of inappropriate behavior, and 1 shooting. Another had 6 excessive force complaints, 19 other complaints, 10 use of force reports, and 3 shootings. A third had 27 use of force reports, and a fourth had 35. Another had a file full of complaints for doing things like striking an arrestee on the back of the neck with the butt of a shotgun for no apparent reason while the arrestee was kneeling and handcuffed, beating up a 13-year-old juvenile, and throwing an arrestee from his chair and kicking him in the back and the side of the head while he was handcuffed and lying on his stomach. The report gives the impression that if you fired those 44 cops, the LAPD would suddenly become a pretty well-functioning police department. But the report also suggests that the problem is tougher than it seems, because those 44 bad cops were so bad that the institutional mechanisms in place to get rid of bad apples clearly weren't working. If you made the mistake of assuming that the department's troubles fell into a normal distribution, you'd propose solutions that would raise the performance of the middle, like better training or better hiring, when the middle didn't need help. For those hardcore few who did need help, meanwhile, the medicine that helped the middle wouldn't be nearly strong enough.